coming down to the last point on the withholding tax for FPIs, especially this is because a lot of AIFs and others have been now opened in Gift City, and now what is the and foreign investors may see that there's too many kind of changes. So what's your opinion on this, sir?
So this is again a very pertinent question, and I would slightly expand the scope of my answer to not just the FPI part, but even the existing position with regard to the withholding tax exemption, which was available for debt securities which are listed in the market, has been changed in the budget. So historically, interest on listed bonds were not subject to withholding tax or TDS because of the fact that the bonds can change hands and it is difficult to trace it to the income exactly to the person who has earned it, whereas the tax deduction will be suffered by the person who actually receives the interest directly from the company. So there is bound to be a mismatch between the amount of income received and the tax which is deducted. So to a large extent, I think this will be a disincentive for active bond trading in terms of the change that has been introduced. So the other aspect which you brought about, which you raised as a question, is with regard to the withholding tax on the bonds which are invested through the markets which are operating in Gift City. I think the rate has been increased from 4 to 9%. Again, I see this as a major disincentive. The basic issue is TDS is being seen as basis of increasing tax revenue. I think this is a very mistaken belief. TDS is just a form of collecting the tax. It doesn't by itself generate tax. And the current level of technology, transparency, and the electronic mode of operations doesn't permit any kind of tax evasion on these products. See, TDS is normally to be pursued as a way of collecting tax only when there is fear that the person earning income may not disclose it and may hide from the clutches of the law. That perhaps was true 20, 30 years back when systems were very inefficient and the government machinery also lacked the ability to trace the taxpayers. But today it is a very changed situation. In fact, the government gets these information far earlier than any other agency, including the person who is receiving the income. So the approach of expanding the footprint of TDS, I would see it to be very negative, and it is really going to affect the efficiency of the markets. So whether it is FPIs or even the local bonds, I think the government should be persuaded to revisit this change because this is definitely a dampener as I see it.
Yes, sir. So just one last question. Coming back to bonds, now government GSECs do not have TDS. Since they are listed bonds, now would they also be subject to TDS now? The government will have to, deduct TDS for interest for holders of GSECs?
I have not specifically checked this. I just assume that the TDS will not apply on GSECs. But I think this needs to be checked to see if this is the case. To a large extent, I think GSECs are not still being invested in by the retail investors, though the facility is available for retail investments. I don't think people are really enthused to invest in GSEC through the retail mode. So to some extent, it may not have any implication for the retail investors, and the corporate and the banks, they will manage it because they have the systems to deal with it. But yes, with regard to corporate bonds, since the avowed objective is to expand the footprint of corporate bonds and then create a very robust retail trading platform for it, I think this TDS is ill thought out. And I think the government should be made to realize that this is a very backward step, and they should revert to the old position.
The market regulators should take it up with the government, actually. Even for GSECs, retail GSECs now, platforms can actually, if RBI permits APIs and others, can enable more retail participation in government bonds because they offer more. They offer a very nice, good product, risk free, and a very good alternative to FDs as well.